There's really no limit to the amount of content that you can ask your students to interact with here in Active Classroom, because you can always add your own content from anywhere on the web. Go to Content, Add Activities, and now the first thing we're going to need to do is put in our lesson title. I've got one here I want to do on the beginnings of the Cold War. I set it up, give it some keywords, some themes. We'll go to the Cold War here. It's going to be a web-based lesson. It's going to emphasize primary source analysis, and I think it'll take about 100 minutes. We'll start off with an introduction, and what we essentially do is build out our table of contents. So I'm going to tell the students what they're going to be doing. The unit is going to consist of a short PowerPoint, a 12-minute video, a primary source reading, and it should take about 100 minutes, so I give that right to them. I save that, and it goes over here to my table of contents. I'm now going to add a new page, which is going to be my first activity. This is going to be downloading a PowerPoint presentation. So I copy and paste this in over here. And I'll label this PowerPoint. Now I want to link this to a PowerPoint, so I'm going to go here and upload this PowerPoint by going to the Upload Files button and finding the file on my desktop, my PowerPoint project, and that's got uploaded here, and it's ready to go. Now I can highlight this link, and I go back to now create a link to it, and I'll double click on it, and it's now created a link there, and I save it. Okay, I wanted to add another component, so I'm going to do New, and you can see how we're building up the table of contents on the right-hand side here. So now I'm going to have the students watch a short video. This is... Now what I'm going to be able to do is you go out, and I found this really cool YouTube video on the Cold War. All I have to do is go in and copy the URL for that, come back in here, and click on this Insert YouTube Video link, paste the link in here, click OK, and the video's now been embedded. We can save it. And there's one more thing that I want to do. I'd like to create an additional space for the students to analyze a primary source that I found on the web. So I'm going to label this one Reading. And I found this great letter from Secretary of Commerce Wallace to President Truman, and I've simply gone into this on the web and highlighted everything, copy it, go back here, and I'm going to paste it in. I probably should give the students some instructions on the very top in terms of what I'm expecting from them. And I had already prepared some instructions. And I'm going to tell them to read this primary source and highlight the reasons why the Soviets distrust the United States, according to Wallace. And I save that. And I've now added all my content, created a table of contents over here so the students can work through that. I'm going to make this a web-based lesson. Now we can go back in, and it's easy to integrate this because this is now part of your activity sets. We go to Find Activities, and the lesson we just created can be found here under My Lessons, Beginnings of the Cold War. And we can drag that over with an activity set. We can also go in and now do a search on the Cold War to find another resource. Say we want to do, I didn't add an image analysis activity, so I want to find, do I have any image analysis activities on the Cold War that are part of the system? And I go here to Lessons, and I find, yes, here's one. And I can drag that over. So this shows you how you can then create your own content and add in existing content into an activity set. So I'll call this one Cold War Today, and save that. And now when I go to assign it to the students, remember one of the things that I was going to ask them to do is to highlight the reasons for Soviet distrust. So I'm going to add this as a highlight. And then I click Add Highlight. And I'll take away this generic one, and then I click Done. And now we've added the highlights, and as we go in and we can give the students instructions, set the unlock date and the due date, and they're ready to go with this assignment. It's that easy to add your own content and to assign it to students for them to work with. Once the student opens the lesson, you'll see the table of contents that we created here with our brief introduction, the PowerPoint presentation with the link to download it here, the link to the short YouTube video that we embedded, as well as the primary source reading that we did, this letter from Wallace to Truman. When the student goes to highlight, remember we created this reasons for Soviet distrust of the U.S., and when they go in, here's an example of what it might look like when the students have highlighted those reasons, and they can jump around in the active reader to find all of those places later on. So this is an example of another way that you can use the highlighting in order to get students to focus specifically on the text structure.